I started out in life with two great advantages: no money and good parents. I went to Oxford University, but I've never let that hold me back. I had the patriotic conviction that, given great leadership of the sort I heard from Winston Churchill in the radio broadcasts to which we listened, there was almost nothing that the British people could not do. I owe a great deal to the Church for everything in which I believe. I am very glad that I was brought up strictly. I was a very serious child. There was not a lot of fun and sparkle in my life. No woman in my time will be Prime Minister or Chancellor or Foreign Secretary, not the top jobs. Anyway, I wouldn't want to be Prime Minister. You have to give yourself 100%.
Margaret Thatcher was the first woman to become Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Mrs. Thatcher was from a modest background, the daughter of a shopkeeper. She studied chemistry at Oxford, and later qualified as a barrister, or legal attorney. She was married with 2 children and became a Conservative Member of Parliament in 1959. In 1975, Mrs. Thatcher became the first female leader of the Conservative Party, and then in 1979, led the party to victory in the general election. During her time as Prime Minister, Mrs. Thatcher pursued a free market economic agenda, promoting deregulation, privatization of state-owned industries, and reductions in the power of trade unions. Her policies aimed to boost economic growth and individual opportunity, but they also faced criticism for their impact on social inequality. Mrs. Thatcher's leadership style was characterized by her strong-willed and uncompromising nature, earning her the nickname the Iron Lady. She was known for her tough stance on international relations and played a key role in the Cold War, maintaining a close alliance with the United States and being critical of the Soviet Union. Mrs. Thatcher's time in office was marked by significant achievements, including the successful military operation to reclaim the Falkland Islands from Argentine occupation in 1982. She survived an assassination attempt in 1984 when terrorists detonated a bomb in the hotel that she was staying in. In 1990, after facing internal party opposition, Mrs. Thatcher resigned as Prime Minister and was succeeded by John Major. She passed away on April 8, 2013, at the age of 87. Despite being controversial, she is remembered as one of the greatest British Prime Ministers of the 20th century. Here are some of her greatest sayings.
In my lifetime all our problems have come from mainland Europe and all the solutions have come from the English-speaking nations across the world. Many of our troubles are due to the fact that our people turn to politicians for everything. Everything a politician promises at election time has to be paid for either by higher taxation or by borrowing. Unless we change our ways and our direction, our greatness as a nation will soon be a footnote in the history books, a distant memory of an offshore island, lost in the mist of time like Camelot, remembered kindly for its noble past. I can't bear Britain in decline. I just can't. I believe in the acceptance of personal responsibility, freedom of choice, and the British Empire, which took freedom and the rule of law to countries which would never have known it otherwise. I came to office with one deliberate intent: to change Britain from a dependent to a self-reliant society, from a give-it-to-me, to a do-it-yourself nation. A get-up-and-go, instead of a sit-back-and-wait-for-it Britain. We should not underestimate the enormity of the task which lies ahead. But little can be achieved without sound money. It is the bedrock of sound government. It must be a conviction government. As Prime Minister, I could not waste time having internal arguments. The mission of this government is much more than the promotion of economic progress. It is to renew the spirit and solidarity of the nation. Economics are the method. The object is to change the soul. We are a British nation with British characteristics. Every country can take some small minorities, and, in many ways, they add to the richness and variety of this country. The moment the minority threatens to become a big one, people get frightened. People are really rather afraid that this country might be rather swamped by people with a different culture. Citizenship should be based on those who have a close and real relationship with this country and its inhabitants. A man may climb Everest for himself, but at the summit he plants his country's flag. Whether it is in the United States or in mainland Europe, written constitutions have one great weakness. That is that they contain the potential to have judges take decisions which should properly be made by democratically elected politicians. Constitutions have to be written on hearts, not just paper. Those who imagine that a politician would make a better figurehead than a hereditary monarch might perhaps make the acquaintance of more politicians. Our children need strong families raising them with sturdy virtues, not to be smothered in the cold arms of the state. Let our children grow tall, and some taller than others if they have it in them to do so. Young people ought not to be idle, it is very bad for them. One of my favorite quotations is, "That which thy father bequeathed thee, earn it anew, if thou wouldst possess it." Leadership is about having principles. A leader must have a vision and principles that will endure for all time, and must always be true to these principles, applying them to changing circumstances. If you lead a country like Britain, a strong country, a country which has taken a lead in world affairs in good times and in bad, a country that is always reliable, then you have to have a touch of iron about you. If you just set out to be liked, you would be prepared to compromise on anything at any time, and you would achieve nothing. If you are guided by opinion polls, you are not practicing leadership, you are practicing followership. If you want to cut your own throat, don't come to me for a bandage. Power is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't. I am extraordinarily patient, provided I get my own way in the end. I don't mind how much my ministers talk, so long as they do what I say. When I'm out of politics, I'm going to run a business, it will be called Rent a Spine. I'll stay until I'm tired of it. So long as Britain needs me, I shall never be tired of it. I've learned one thing in politics. You don't take a decision until you have to. I have never knowingly made a non-controversial speech in my life. If you have a sense of purpose and a sense of direction, I believe people will follow you. Democracy isn't just about deducing what the people want. Democracy is leading the people as well. You may have to fight a battle more than once to win it. Any leader has to have a certain amount of steel in him, so I am not that put out being called the Iron Lady. If my critics saw me walking over the Thames, they would say it was because I couldn't swim. I always cheer up immensely if an attack is particularly wounding, because I think, well, if they attack one personally, it means they have not a single political argument left. Of course, it's the same old story. Truth usually is the same old story. I wouldn't be worth my salt if I weren't attracting some controversy and criticism. Everyone in the world who has done something in life has attracted criticism. What is success? I think it is a mixture of having a flair for the thing that you are doing, knowing that it is not enough, that you have got to have hard work and a certain sense of purpose. No great goal was ever easily achieved. I do not know anyone who has got to the top without hard work. That is the recipe. It will not always get you to the top, but should get you pretty near. Disciplining yourself to do what you know is right and important, although difficult, is the high road to pride, self-esteem, and personal satisfaction. To wear your heart on your sleeve isn't a very good plan. You should wear it inside, where it functions best. You don't win by just being against things, you only win by being for things and making your message perfectly clear. Plan your work for today and every day, then work your plan. You do not achieve anything without trouble, ever. I fight on. I fight to win. Defeat. I do not recognize the meaning of the word. Never flinch. Make up your own mind and do it. Look at a day when you are supremely satisfied at the end. It's not a day when you lounge around doing nothing. It's a day you've had everything to do and you've done it. I am not a consensus politician. I'm a conviction politician. Consensus is the negation of leadership. Nothing is more obstinate than a fashionable consensus. To me, consensus seems to be the process of abandoning all beliefs, principles, values, and policies. So, it is something in which no one believes and to which no one objects, the process of avoiding the very issues that have to be solved, merely because you cannot get agreement on the way ahead. What great cause would have been fought and won under the banner, "I stand for consensus"? Standing in the middle of the road is very dangerous. You get knocked down by the traffic from both sides. We will stand on principle, or we will not stand at all. I seem to smell the stench of appeasement in the air. There are still people in my party who believe in consensus politics. I regard them as quislings, as traitors. I mean it. I love argument, I love debate. I don't expect anyone just to sit there and agree with me, that's not their job. Do you know that one of the great problems of our age is that we are governed by people who care more about feelings than they do about thoughts and ideas? It used to be about trying to do something. Now it's about trying to be someone. If you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. It may be the cock that crows, but it is the hen that lays the eggs. I usually make up my mind about a man in 10 seconds, and I very rarely change it. In those days, one advantage of being a woman was that there was a basic courtesy towards us on which we could draw, something which today's feminists have largely dissipated. I owe nothing to women's lib. The feminists hate me, don't they? And I don't blame them. For I hate feminism. It is poison. The battle for women's rights has largely been won. The days when they were demanded and discussed in strident tones should be gone forever. I hate those strident tones we hear from some women's libbers. Once a woman is made man's equal, she becomes his superior. The woman's mission is not to enhance the masculine spirit, but to express the feminine. Hers is not to preserve a man-made world, but to create a human world by the infusion of the feminine element into all of its activities. Women have plenty of roles in which they can serve with distinction. Some of us even run countries. But generally, we are better at wielding the handbag than the bayonet. Any woman who understands the problems of running a home will be nearer to understanding the problems of running a country. I've got a woman's ability to stick to a job and get on with it when everyone else walks off and leaves it.